What's up, everyone? Nathan coming back at you with their Monotype Showdown Live. We're doing a new typing today, so let's head to our votes here and see what we're going to be using next right now. This is a close one. We had a lot of close contenders here. Grass snuck up with a huge amount of votes. Dragons got in the running out of just about nowhere. Poison, to my surprise, crept up. And Ghost, 25 votes, nearly won it all. In addition to fighting always the bridesmaid, never the bride. 25th. I think it's tied for second about 3 times now. But as you can probably tell by me highlighting this one right here, Dark did win out today, so we are going to be doing some Dark type laddering today and for my next live. But before we get into Dark though, I usually start out by explaining what I think about the archetype. But my thing with Dark is I think it's an excellent way to explain how team building works in Monotype in general, in addition to a good lesson on why offense is so common in the tier. So I'm going to teach how to team build in general, how teams kind of function more importantly in Mono Dark. And I'm going to do that with this Venn diagram right here. Let me exit this and I will go to this guy. This is a Venn diagram. And I'm going to be talking about the sort of relationship between bulky offense, hyper offense, but even as it extends beyond Mono Dark. So first things first, let's go into full screen here. This is just a Photoshop doc here. So hop this into full screen. Although before we get going, I guess I'm due for a costume change right now. This is not very Mono Dark looking, is it? That's a little bit better. Not very exciting, but what can I do here? It's kind of boring hoodie outfits one after the other, in addition to being weak to fighting one after the other, but that's kind of the nature of what we're doing right now. But yeah, before we get into it, I want to answer a bit of a common unasked question, which is going to be, why is there so much offense in Monotype? Why no stall or balance or things like that? And the most common answer is just that a lot of types can't really manage to do so. So even if we look at this right here, if we look at these 11 Pokemon I run, because most Mono Dark teams are going to be using any sort of set between 10 to 15 Pokemon. This is 11 right here, the most common, I think, or at least the most important. There just isn't a lot of defensive quality to this team. I am missing Sableye on this list of Mons, who would be really helpful on a defensive sort of stall-based team. But the fact is, you're not going to have very long recovery with all these Mons. A lot of these Pokemon don't really have access to great recovery. You know, you have Roost here, you have Jungle Healing here, you have Roost here. And that's really about it. Like, Tide and Rattata sometimes runs Rest, but that is not an effective means of stalling out your opponent over the course of the game. Not to mention your hazard control is pretty poor. You have access to Stealth Rocks, that's about it. You have access to Defog, that's about it. No Spinner. It's really rough. There might be some sort of niche examples I'm missing where, oh, you know, this Pokemon, like, you know, more Pico can run Rapid Spin, but that's not going to be offering you much defensive utility. In terms of, like, good, strong defensive Mons who also have defensive stall-like qualities, the list is pretty small. And again, I'm not just saying this to dunk on Dark. It's the case with a lot of types. Same goes for Electric, same goes for Ghost, same goes for Fire. This sort of thing's a common theme. Just the fact is that a lot of typings don't have the requisite defensive Pokemon to play stall. Because if you think about what stall is, it's being able to answer any threat that comes your way, outlast it consistently with recovery, and control the hazards extremely effectively. That's a tall order to ask for a single type to cover. Even in overused, stall isn't very viable right now because it's a hard thing to do. In a similar vein, the same thing's going to apply to balance, because balance oftentimes requires the same defensive things. You want to be able to last these longer battles, but with a more condensed defensive core. And that's one thing in overuse where you can easily throw in like a Looking Galar, Tornadus, and a Powder on something like that. But when you don't have a very solid condensed defensive core, balance becomes extremely difficult to build too. This is why so many teams often opt for bulky offense or hyper offense like we have here. Because if you don't have the defensive qualities to last out these games against other offensive types, there's 2 methods you can go with here. You either go A, well, screw defense, I'm going to build hyper offense, I'm going to just knock them all out before they can knock me out. That's fine. And that works for a lot of typings because lots of typings have extremely strong offensive Pokemon. Obviously Dark is going to be no exception there. The same again goes for like Electric or Psychic, whatever. You think, fine, I'll just build straight up offense and I'll just completely disregard defense to begin with, and that's completely fine. And that's again why you see so much hyper offense in Monotype. But the other route is also very viable, which is going to be bulky offense, where sometimes you might go, okay, I might not be able to last a whole, 100 turn game, control the hazards, blah, 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 play a stall game, but I do have some strong defensive Pokemon. Like if we look at this list right here, Mandibuzz, fantastic defensive Pokemon. We have an Electric immunity here. We have Tyranitar, which is a great special defensive threat. We're getting Sandstorm up. We can deal with Toxic Spikes with Drapion here. We have a Levitate user in Hydreigon. Hydreigon's kind of an underrated defensive threat. We have Jungle Healing to kind of outlast stall and beat Toxapex with this Zarude right now. We have Dark Resist across the board because we're a Mono Dark team, of course. So there is defensive qualities that I found here. And a lot of teams can do that too, where you go, okay, I might not be able to do, an all-out defensive team, but I do still have some defensive qualities. I don't want to kind of throw myself under the bus here. So when that happens, you can build a bulky offense, because that's kind of the poster child for that description, where you go, okay, I can make a couple of smart swaps here and there to kind of last the game, but I still want to be able to knock them out first. My objective is still to defeat them rather than outlast them. And that's where bulky offense is going to come in here. And I do think that Dark is a really good example of both of these in action. action, because hyper offense and bulky offense is a bit of a thin line, especially like, you know, you could very easily build a hyper offense with mons like these who do have lots of defensive qualities. So you can go like, well, these are bulky Pokemon, even though it's a hyper offense. Like, how is this exactly a hyper offense? Because again, it is a bit of a thin line on what you define it by. But again, I consider bulky offense the idea of you have defensive consideration on your team for sure, but you are still looking to primarily knock out your opponent through offense. Whereas hyper offense is just like, I barely care about defense. I'm just trying to break right now and sweep. So yes, again, you're gonna find this across many different types of mono dark. Dark is a great example of it, but the fact is most mono types are probably gonna be running either a bulky offense or a hyper offense because of those factors just lined out. And that's fine actually, because I think that's one of the cooler things about monotype is that you can theme your offense around something that only your typing can take advantage of. So for example, if you have an electric terrain team and you have sort of a bulky or hyper offense, that's great because you're taking advantage of a system of offense that your opponent cannot. All of my electric attacks will be boosted. We're all using rising voltage, whatever. Maybe you're using a grassy terrain offense team and you've got lots of grassy glide users. You're taking advantage of a system that your opponent cannot, or even gravity on a mono ground team where I don't care what you do, I'm hitting you with this earthquake no matter what from this banded Excadrill, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Things like this exist all the time in offense, and that's one of the appeals of monotype in my opinion. But yes, as I kind of lined out earlier, most of these Pokemon that you see along the bottom here, most of these 11, again, it's not an exhaustive list, but I'm going to consider these the main 11 you're going to be building with. They're going to be occupying most of your teams because there's not a ton you can use for Mono Dark. These are all extremely good, effective Pokemon. But the fact is most of your teams are going to be using these Pokemon. And I'm going to break down which ones you're going to be using on which sort of side, because yes, again, you can use a Grimmsnarl on a bulky offense team, and you can use, if you wanted to, a Mandibuzz on hyper offense team, stuff like that. I think that's completely fine, but I'm just using this Venn diagram as a sort of way to explain that what side of the spectrum they more often find themselves on. For example, like again, Mandibuzz, you really are for the most part going to find on your bulky offenses for the fact, because it doesn't have much offensive pressure. Going to it is going to lose you a turn of offense on your opponent. So almost always when you're using it, it's going to be sort of supporting a bulky offense team. It's fantastic at that. In fact, if you're not running hyper offense, you're almost certainly running Mandibuzz. That makes complete sense to me. Same goes for Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl setting up screens 90% of the time. It's one of the better screeners in overuse, let alone a monotype. So sure, while it definitely can be used on bulky offense, it's just gonna be a fantastic thing on your side to use in hyper offense. So that's what I'm talking about here. I want to do a Venn diagram to sort of really illustrate that just because something is on one side doesn't mean it can't be used for the other. So just keep this in mind that this is not saying like, you know, you cannot use Bisharp on bulky offense, but again, you get my point. So let's move my camera down here first of all. I don't even know where to put myself, so I'm not in the way here. It's put myself perfectly there. What a weird spot. Sure, that works. Okay, so let's go through them. Let's kind of talk about all of them. So yes, Mandibuzz, definite bulky offense contender right here. In addition, we're going to see Grimmsnarl. In addition to Grimmsnarl, I'm going to throw Crocodile on this. And Crocodile, I'm actually going to put closer to this line. I'm going to put literally one toe into the middle here because you can see them on bulky offense for sure. It's a great Scarfer, especially with Moxie. That ground type is going to be really useful, especially if you come up against some sort of mono electric team. But in terms of a Sash lead Pokemon that's going for Stealth Rocks and setting up your hyper offense team on a good sort of pace, with access to taunt, with its good speed tier, it's going to be fantastic suicide lead. Again, same goes for Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl's going to be on this side, I guess. And Mandibuzz I'll put over here. Bisharp, I'd like to say I could put it in bulky offense because it does help us with the fairies a little bit, but it's more useful for breaking fairies than it is against defending against fairies here. So I'll put them on this side. Not to mention it goes really well with that hyper offense because that Defiant ability is going to disincentivize your opponent from defogging on you. So if you get the screens up, you get up Stealth Rocks, your opponent's like, okay, we're in a bad spot right now. I need to get a defog off. They can't when this Bisharp's facing you down because if you swap into it, it's essentially got a Swords Dance up, and good luck swapping into a Swords Dance Bisharp because knockoff is just a nuke. And actually at this point I should mention, I don't think I've even talked about dark types at all. I've just been sort of gassing on about the idea of bulky offense versus hyper offense in general. And I can scroll up a little bit, can I? Yeah, I haven't explained why dark types are good offensively. So I talked about this a little bit in my knockoff video, but knockoff is one of the best offensive abilities in Pokemon. It hits really hard. It's essentially a dark type Earthquake. Also strips your enemies of their items, which gives you intel on their sets. It also greatly diminishes their effectiveness. Super useful. There's very few types that can swap into dark type safely. So not only are they super effective versus psychic and ghost types, but they're also barely resisted by any Pokemon with the exception of fairy and dark and fighting. So you're really in a good spot offensively. You can just throw off these huge knockoffs all game. No one can really resist it. And if they do have resistances, like a fighting type, for example, you come against a mono Mono Fighting doesn't have a lot of recovery either, so there's only so many Urshifu Wicked Blows they can take. So in terms of offensive typing, it's no secret that Dark is extremely good, and Mono Dark, as a result, is very good at sort of keeping this offense going. But speaking of Urshifu here, I'm going to put it in the middle, and that might seem odd, but it's mostly because I'll do the same with Weavile, which is even odder, because you think, Weavile, it's so fragile, it has no bulk to it, why would it not be on bulky offense? But it's because in terms of if you're building a bulky offense or a hyper offense, you're going to want these two Pokemon equally. Urshifu, that one's an easy one to explain. I'm pretty sure everyone's on the same page with this one. It's one of the best offensive Pokemon that Monotype can provide. It was banned from overused. Wicked Blow is really, really difficult to swap into. It can run Scarf and Choice Band sets very effectively, but can also run a bulk up set extremely effectively, and then it can take advantage of, do I want a close combat on you? Do I want a Wicked Blow? Which, by the way, those two offer pretty much perfect coverage, which is fantastic. You can also opt to run a Poison Jab or a Sucker Punch for some priority. Really useful Pokemon. Now, Weavile, again, it's a little bit weird. You might think, like, again, how is it possibly on a bulky offense? But most bulky offense sort of archetypes and shells have a hard time dealing with Mono Dragon and Mono Flying, which are very powerful, very common typings, and Weavile's gonna help out a lot with that. And also, I'll get back to this later, but we're gonna look at all these Pokemon here, and actually we can do this right now. If we look at all these Pokemon right here, they're not slow. There's a lot of base 90s, base 90, base 90, base 90. Where's Zarude again? Zarude's in like 105, isn't it? Yeah, so, and like a bit of a 90 here. So it's not a slow team. I'd say 90 is a quite respectable speed tier to deal with. But if you're coming up against some true speedsters, you're in trouble, and you can't be relying on only Scarfers to contend with other speed. So Weavile is actually our best speed option. So, Tornadus, for example, we come up against a Tornadus in a Mono Flying. How exactly are we breaking that? Our Urshifu is outsped and hit by a Hurricane. Our Bishop can swap into a Hurricane fine, but we could die to a Focus Blast. We're also outsped vastly. In terms of Focus Blast in general, actually, dead. Mulch Galar could probably handle a Tornadus pretty fine, but are they really going to let us set up on them and stay in and sack their most important Pokemon and let the Mulch Galar sweep them back? Doesn't seem likely. Mandibuzz can Toxic them, sure, but that's a pretty slow way to take out a Mon here. So again, it comes in terms of matchups like that, and Mono Dragon's also important because Mono Dragon a lot comes down to your Hydreigon here, and that's a slim margin of error if you screw up there. And Weavile's gonna help out a lot there, so that's gonna be helpful on both hyper offense and on bulky offense. Great cleaner on this side, great sort of check to build defensive Mons. Not to mention Banded Triple Axle. It's insane. Who has to contend with that? So we're gonna put these Mons in sort of, useful on both sides, no question there. And actually another one for that is going to be this Hydreigon here. And Hydreigon I might toe a little bit more to the hyper offense side. Definitely, look, I think almost every team you're building is probably going to feature Hydreigon. And actually I'll throw T-Tar right here too. These three right here are probably going to be on most dark type teams you built. They're just extremely good at what they do. If you want offense, T-Tar can hang. If you want bulky offense, Hydreigon can definitely hang with its levitate ability and its awesome defensive dragon typing. Super important. And again, Mandibuzz is also equally as good as these three for sure, if not better. But it's just not as likely to be used due to hyper offense. It's not very good in that sort of scenario. But these are sort of your trifecta of important Pokemon here. And they're also very flexible, which is handy. So yeah, T-Tar kind of toes the line towards bulky offense. It can run Dragon Dance sets here. It can run Banded or even a Scarf set. Scarf set I think is actually kind of underrated because nobody expects it. And it hits like a pretty high speed tier. I think you can outspeed like, maybe not Terrakion. I should know that. Can you outspeed a Terrakion with a Scarfed T-Tar? Oh, I should know that. I'm actually gonna stop what I'm doing right now and look that up. Look at that. You outspeed them by a lot. Wait, is that real? Let's go, Tyranitar. You outspeed... Wait, do you outspeed Cinderace? That can't be true. Okay, you almost outspeed Cinderace. Man, so that must be... You outspeed base 115s like a Starmie. Oh, man, let me check this out. We've gone off the rails right now as I frantically check this stuff. Yeah, you outspeed even a Starmie with the Scarf. How do I never know that? Okay, you know what? I swear, I learned something new with Pokemon every single day. Like on my last live, someone told me about Webb's Pokemon don't factor into Ditto's copying. I did not know that at all either. So anyways, let's keep going here. Mulch Galar almost always going to be hyper offense. It's actually very bulky and it could hang with bulky offense for sure. But again, like I'm saying, if you are not running, it's the exact same typing as Mandibuzz. So if you're not running hyper offense, you are running Mandibuzz. So this would be just kind of a substitute for that. Not to mention dual dance set with agility and nasty plus fantastic. It's going to be, when I was looking at tournament games of dark types, I think I could be mistaken, but I think every single hyper offense dark team that was used in tournament used a Ultra Scalar. It's really strong. This is really good at what it does. Next, we're gonna have Drapion here. Drapion definitely gonna be part of the bulky offense. Does not quite have the firepower to contend with these guys over in hyper offense, but it's still really good. It throws off knockoffs. We have Poison Jab, which is going to help beat fairy types. Importantly, it's going to give us a little bit of resistance against fairy types because, as you can probably tell, most of these Pokemon get kind of cleaned up by any sort of wandering fairy type. We also can soak up toxic spikes because, as a problem with most forms of offense have in common, swapping in and around toxic spikes is really difficult. Drapion helps that a great deal, and also importantly, they can throw out their own toxic spikes, which is going to help against enemy offense. So very, very good Pokemon to have on your side with bulky offense. Kind of hard to squeeze onto your team, if I'm being honest. It's difficult to find that spot, but if you can, it's definitely going to put in work in a lot of matchups. And then Zarude here. So Zarude is also, I mean, this Venn diagram almost seems unnecessary considering how many people are going to be towing the line here, but I guess I'll probably put it a hair on this side with Tyranitar. But it can still definitely hang hyper offense if you run like a Scarf set or you run a bulk up set, whatever. But the bulk up set, I think bulk up jungle healing is really good. You can't really get stalled out to the same extent that you would otherwise. And yeah, that's kind of going to round out our list here. And I'm running very deep into my time here. I'm spending way too long gassing on about this sort of topic, but I want to get on to the next idea about mono dark team building, which is very interesting to me, which is the concept of ambiguous sets. So for example, a good way to look at it is, speaking of tournament sets, actually, when it comes to mono dark, the team that is used very, very frequently is the following. You get these guys. Oops, no. These 6 are extremely, why can't I select you? These 6 right here are going to be, oh, you can't see because my camera's in the way. It's a mess. What's going on? It's a disaster. Okay. So these 6 right here are very common in a lot of tournament teams. In fact, when I was looking at tournament replays, I think about 7 of the 10 were using this exact squad. And you might think, well, that's lame. It's so predictable and it's so like samey and whatever. And yes, again, I do want to stress here that you can swap these Pokemon in and out. So you can be like, okay, you know, I want to swap out you for you because I'm more worried about the Toxic Spikes matchup. Or if you're worried about, you know, oh, mono ground teams are really going to tear me apart. Again, you can throw this Zarude back in there if that's a concern. Or you can go, oh, mono electric, I want to match up better against them. I'll throw in the Crocodile here. Or I want to be able to break fairies easily. You can do this. Or again, I didn't even throw in on this whole list, I didn't throw in Sableye. Sableye definitely fits on the left side. There's Sharpedo on this side. There is going to be Crawdaunt on this side too. There's lots of mons I didn't list here. These are sort of the main 11 that I think are most relevant and most useful. But anyways, you see these 6 and you think, okay, this is so predictable, so boring, blah, blah, blah. But what you might also notice about these 6 Pokemon is that they can run a lot of ambiguous sets. So a very, very minor example of this is if I come up against a Mandibuzz on the average monotype ladder, I don't know if they're running Toxic, I don't know if they're running U-turn, I don't know if they're running attacks, if it's going to be Brave Bird, Knockoff, or Foul Play. I'm not too certain, and I don't want to be able to swap in like a Tornadus against a Mandibuzz, for example, because what if they Toxic me? That's a huge, huge thing to worry about there. But more importantly, that's a very minor example of it. These ones can run all kinds of different sets. If you want extremely good speed control, you can run a Scarf Weavile, or if you want to be able to break everything in sight, you can run a Banded Triple Axle Weavile. That makes a lot of sense. When it comes to Zarude, the Scarf one is extremely good Revenge Killer. That Darkest Lariat move ignores your opponent's defensive boost. So let's say you're running up against a low health but very high defense Melmetal who's used Iron Defense a couple times, and you go, oh my god, I'm never gonna be able to break this thing. What am I gonna do? My Hydreigon's already dead. How am I gonna break this thing? Darkest Lariat's going to ignore those defensive boosts and be able to break it as a good sort of Scarf Revenge Killer. So it's a very good Scarf Revenge Killer. I personally love its bulk up jungle healing set a lot. It can also run Band very effectively though. So it can run anything. You can't really be too sure about that. Urshifu is a prime, maybe the best one of these 6 example of this. It can run Choice Band to just be like an unstoppable wall breaker. It can run Scarf sets. I saw a couple of tournament sets running Scarf or Shifu. It's very, very good at that role as well. You don't have to run Sucker Punch as much if that was the case, which frees you up to run U-turn and Poison Jab, which is great. So very good one, but also bulk up is fantastic, gives you that sort of versatility there. And then Tyranitar. Tyranitar works really well with defensive sets. It's a rocker. It can run special defense, so it can answer Volcarona very easily. It's got access to Rock Blast. It's got access to Thunder Wave. Crunch for coverage. It's got a great move pool. You can run Superpower and Earthquake, all kinds of sort of offensive moves like that. But you can also run Choice Band. You can also run Dragon Dance. We just talked about Scarf earlier. It can run anything you want. So this is what I'm sort of talking about. That's kind of the whole long belabored point I'm building towards here, is that you can mix and match this. And I think this is the perfect team if you want to start team building yourself in Monotype. This is the perfect thing to go with, because you mix and match. You choose which 6 Pokemon you want. You go, okay, I'm picking from bulky offense, so I'll do this, or I'm picking from hyper offense, so I'll use these guys. But then you can just start to play around a bit, and you go, okay, I don't have a Scarfer yet, so maybe I'll do the Hydreigon Scarfer. I mean, didn't talk about Hydreigon, but you can go, you know what? I'm really worried about sort of defensive stally teams against my Hydreigon, so I'm gonna run a Roost Hydreigon with Nasty Plot and Flamethrower and Dark Pulse, or maybe I run Scarf Draco Meteor so it can sweep enemy dragon teams, all kinds of stuff. You can mix and match very, very easily, and you can't really go wrong. Is the most important thing I want to stress here. So if you're like me, because I remember when I was a newcomer to Pokemon, I was so worried about having a bad team. I was stressing it all the time, and oh my gosh, this team I'm running is terrible. I'm sure I lost because my team was terrible. That's the only possible reason, and it stressed me out all the time. So if you're like me and that kind of fits you, you should be building Mono Dark as your first sort of foray into Monotype team building, because you really can't go wrong, especially with these 6. So I don't want to sort of encourage still team building, but these 6 in particular you really can't go wrong with. But if you want to mix in, again, if you're going, okay, man, this Mono Electric matchup is just a nightmare right now. I need that Crocodile in here, but I lose a speed control from Weavile, so I'll make that a Scarfer instead. Or you go, oh my gosh, like Toxapex, sure, I can deal with Toxapex a little bit with my Zarude and Bulk Up and Jungle Healing. It answers it very well, but that's my rest of my team is getting murked by Toxic Spike. So tell you what, I'm going to swap this guy in and sub them in. Or you go, I mean, I want more offense. I'm building a hyper offense instead. I'm going to throw in as a cleaner. I don't like this Weavile. Weavile's too fragile. I hate the Stealth Rock dependency that I have to keep them off. So I'm going to get rid of Weavile, and I'm going to throw in a Sharpedo. Stuff like that. It's so easy to team build in this tier. And I am running really late to my recording. It's the longest ever gassed up a topic up until now. But I'm going to build one really quick. And then we'll do one game of laddering with it. I'll play with it more in the next live, but let's try to get this point across here. So I'm going to be building a Mono Dark bulky offense, because I think I just like the idea of having just objectively strong Mon. Like a Tyranitar is just, I don't care what team you throw a Tyranitar on, it's going to put in some work because it's just ridiculously good. I don't think that's in question. Plus it's one of the few Stealth Rockers that we can have access to. I love that. I'm probably going to throw in Leftovers on this guy. And then Rock Blast is good because you can do Stone Edge instead for extra hitting power, but Rock Blast is fine. Stab helps you break Volcarona a little bit better. And then I'm actually gonna run Crunch, maybe a little bit of a hot take there to run Crunch instead of something else, but I like that. And then finally run Thunder Wave, so really good offensive Pokemon can't swap in on me for free, which is often a big goal of bulky offense. Probably gonna go full Spadef here just because it's such a good Spadef Mon, and its base 300 attack is nothing to sneeze at that point anyways. Put some things into defense there, minus the attack. And then next step, I'll go Mandibuzz for sure, because I'm not building hyper offense. So I think Mandibuzz is almost essential if you're not building hyper offense. It's not very inventive, but in terms of stats, I'll probably go for full Fizz Def just because I'm so afraid of being swept by some of those big mons in the tier. Go minus special attack there. Throw a bit into that. I always forget he's got base 80 speed. Mandibuzz, why do you have base 80 speed? That is just not necessary, my guy. Oh, and I definitely want Overcoat so I can deal with Spore and Sleep Powder and stuff like that. And then I will probably go U-turn. You need Defog and Roost. And then Foul Play. It's pretty good. Toxic is nice too, as is Brave Bird. But I don't like Brave Bird in addition to a Dark type attack personally. So I'll probably keep on U-turn, but Toxic I might come back to that one. Hydreigon. I don't think this one's as essential per se. Or Sheep is probably a little bit more essential, but I have a hard time leaving a team builder without Hydreigon if I'm building Mono Dark. It's just so good. Now I'm going to come back to these two depending on what sort of sets I'm running right now. I can tell you right now it's going to be Timid Max Special Attack, that's for sure. No question about that. And probably the same for you except Jolly. And then just throw some defense there. Yeah, why not? So again, I'm not sure which of these two is going to be a Scarfer. Maybe I'm going to have Abandoned Pokemon. Maybe I'm going to set up Pokemon. And I will say that Zarude is a really interesting Pokemon. I think Jungle Healing is so cool, honestly. The idea of Jungle Healing and Bulk Up. Not only does it give you a good matchup versus Toxapex, who's traumatized us in previous lives, but it's still a good revenge killer with its speed tier. Super handy. And Darkest Lariat here. Definitely do that. Definitely do Leftovers. Again, kind of boring 252 spreads here, but this is all I'm really inclined to do right now. It's just so good. So I'll do this. I want to be able to hit hard as neatly as possible. Definitely a very good Scarfer, especially with access to U-turn. But the fact that this is going to be my bulk up Pokemon kind of frees up the Urshifu for me, in my opinion, because I'm not going to run 2 bulk up Mons, I don't think. So it's probably going to be some sort of choice locked Mon, in which case we're definitely going to be running Poison Jab and maybe U-Turn though. Yeah, probably U-Turn. Probably U-Turn, probably Wicked Blow, Close Combat, and then we're not sure what the last one's going to be. This is assuming it's banded. It would probably be Poison Jab if it was Scarf, but we'll come back to that one for sure. As with you, we're definitely running Dark Pulse and Flamethrower because you are probably Scarf too, although I can definitely make you Nasty Plot. Could definitely do that. Well, the question is now, so this is of the common 6 Mons I lined out. Weavile just kind of completes the picture there, that's for sure. But I'm not sure if I want to do Weavile. Again, looking at this team, it seems kind of slow. Again, when I was first digging into the dark type stuff, I didn't play a lot of dark type before I recorded this. I always do a bit of research before I do these monotype breakdowns. But Weavile, at first it struck me as very useful, but when I dug into it, I went, okay, yeah, you know what, these Pokemon do kind of lack for speed. All 3 of these guys are definitely fast, but not quite in that elite 120 tier. So, and I could do Choice Band, which gives me another really powerful breaker. And then between these 4, I have excellent offense, in addition to sort of some coverage for speed with Weavile, plus Ice Shard. Man, I was trying to talk myself out of it, but I just talked myself into it doing that. Is there any other sort of Scarfer that I could use instead? Like a Moxie Scarf Crocodile would definitely give us help. Still be very good. Still throwing around big knockoffs, that's for sure. You can even do Zoroark. Fortunately, Zoroark I think is going to be a little bit tricky to do because it's not a lot of... You can just assume it's Hydreigon, and I don't know. I don't think that would really work. So again, I'm kind of... I was trying to talk myself out of it and be an interesting content creator and not use the Weavile. But if I'm being honest, it just seems like such a perfect fit right now. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to make my guy Banded. And then do Ice Shard. Not Ice Beam. That would be interesting. Maybe I'll build a more interesting team next time. I want to at least show why it's so standard for one thing here. Then Triple Axle. And then our last one will be, I guess, Low Kick. Low Kick's really good, especially Banded. Yep, definitely want max speed on you, that's for sure. If that's the case, I think I'll definitely make you Nasty Plot, and I'm not sure which one. I might go Roost Nasty Plot. I saw that in a tournament game. I was like, damn, that looks really good. Throw on Leftovers to boot. And then as a result, that frees up my Urshifu to either run Choice Band alongside Weavile, and that's a really fearsome pair of breakers right there. In addition, they both have priority, priority Ice Shard and priority Sucker Punch is going to help us with speed even more so. Or I can make it Scarf. I mean, Urshifu is really strong. It doesn't really struggle to break things to begin with. I am so on the fence, actually. I think Choice Band seems kind of obvious, but I'm not sure. I could even run Choppleberry Bulk Up, and have multiple Bulk Up users, which I don't think is bad in the slightest. I could even go Zarude as a Scarfer to kind of help things out there, and then make your Shifu Bulk Up, but I'm worried about the Toxapex matchup if that was the case. Sure, I've got Hydreigon with Roost, but you can get hit with Toxic, which Toxapex is pretty common to run in this tier. I think I might go with my gut and do Choice Scarf. I don't know. It seems good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think when Poison Jab, I guess. I don't know. I might immediately regret this and come back to it, but enough's enough. I gotta get into a game here. Okay, so I'm long-winded. Let's see if we can get one quick game here. And mono flying, so of course Tyranitar is gonna be really helpful. And I'm glad I brought the Weavile into the last moment because that's gonna be damn near essential. Zapdos Galar is gonna be the big one to watch out for on our opponent's side, though. Hopefully it's not a Scarf Thunderous, but I would be surprised if that was the case. So I'm gonna go for a free Triple Axle right now, take my kill. Hopefully we don't get a miss, but we do not. That's great. Mulch is going to be a big concern for us. I'm going to go to T-Tar right away. Threaten it back out. Hopefully we don't get burnt with like a Scorching Sands or something. Mystical Fire, that's fine by me. Now, who would you go to if your Tyranitar is in against you? Probably Xatu, but I'll have to go for like a cursory sort of Rock Blast before we scout things out too bad here. Okay, Corviknight comes in. Thunder Wave, a definite threat. Let's go to Mandibuzz, and I can go for a U-turn after the fact, except they are Bulk Up. Well, if things get truly hairy, I can Foul Play down the road. For the time being, I think I go to my Dragon or my Urshifu. If they're Bulk Up, I think they're probably Body Press. If that's the case, I can probably kill with Urshifu with a Wicked Blow, I think is my play. So we do 50% off a crit there. That's nice. We'll probably see a Roost here. Doing 26% already. That's not bad at all. Go for another one right now. They Roost here. I'm fast, so they probably Roost here. I'm trying to get a good swapping opportunity on my Urshifu, and that would have been it right there. Go to Urshifu right now. Hopefully they go for one more. If they body press right here, I'll be a little bit upset. Will Wicked Blow do it? Not quite, but I can revenge kill afterwards. I think I did its job. There's the foul play. Thank God for ignoring that. I could have also done Zarude actually as a revenge kill in that situation, but I think we're pretty well situated now that that guy's gone. Moltres comes in. I bet they U-turn here, but I don't want to risk a toxic, I guess. I'd rather have this guy be toxic. Or even that. Yeah, that's fine by me. Let's go for Rock Blast. We're going to see Zapdos Galar here. We do. So this is a huge Thunder Wave. So glad I put it on T-Tar right now. Let's go to Mandibuzz. If it's banded, Mandibuzz is probably going to be 2 at KO. But this is an important job for it. Now I can foul play for like 40%. 30%, never mind. But we will trade. This is our biggest kind of concern matchup there. And not a lot stopping my Hydreigon from kind of popping off at the stage of the game. And I think I go to Weavile and I knock off. No. I'll go to Hydreigon. Hydreigon's winning the game at this stage. Zarude could be okay versus Dragonite depending on what set it is. I'd be surprised if it's dual wing beat, but maybe not. You never know. Flamethrower should do this here. As they go to maybe D-Knight now, realizing they have multi-scale and they can kind of wall me. Moltres is not good for them. I think they're kind of forced to go D-Knight. In that case, do I take that matchup? I don't know. Moltres, I'm super thrilled to fight 1v1, especially with Nasty Plot and Roost. You are not beating me in this situation. As long as you don't full confuse me. Oh, man. But still, I gotta hit 2 Hurricanes, and I gotta get full confused here. I think I'm fine. Yeah, we don't get hit by that. We don't get hit by that stuff. No. Not me. Not me. I don't get hit by that stuff. I don't get hit by that stuff. That's for other players, not me. Not edgy dark type trainer Nathan. I don't get hit by that stuff. So D-Knight does come in. They're playing for the full para. They're for the full confused, but they're not getting it because this Hydreigon's built a little bit differently from most Hydreigons. Dragonite. You gotta keep that in mind. You gotta have your head on a swivel if you're dealing with us here. And so with that one gone, we are going to come away with the win there. That's awesome. And again, only one battle over the course of this live. I apologize. Just want to get one quick one in to kind of demonstrate the concepts we were talking about this whole video here. But I will record another live to go out tomorrow. Keep an eye on that. Monotype is super fun. I hope you guys give it a shot. And more importantly, I hope you are willing to give it a team building shot if you haven't been team building with me along so far. But otherwise, that's me done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep up the video recommendations. Keep up the likes and comments. Love it so much. And I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.